Good morning. Good morning. I'm about ready to head down to the zoo, and me and the Herpetology Club are going to get a behind the scenes look at the reptile house. We're going to meet some really cool animals together. So I'm bringing you guys along for the ride. Oh, you just got to peep my other money hole, other than animals. But yeah, I'll catch you when we get over there. This is going to be super cool. So the Cincinnati Zoo, really beautiful place, and it's very unique too. It's a really staple landmark of the city. The amount of animals that they have at this institution are pretty sick for the amount of space that they have. This zoo is completely enclosed by the University of Cincinnati, neighborhoods, the city, so they don't really get to do like huge expansive upgrades to their facilities, so they kind of have to get creative, and that's what I really admire about this place. It's awesome. So welcome to the Reptile House. This is where we're going to be hanging out today. That right there you just saw was a Chinese alligator. Very cool critter. This building is really impressive. It's one of the oldest buildings at any zoo in America. Cincinnati Zoo is about 150 years old, and so is this building. This building has been here for just about as long as the zoo has. It previously housed monkeys, I believe, and then it became the Reptile House, and it's been one of my favorite stops at the Cincinnati Zoo ever since. This is one of my favorite exhibits here. This is a mixed species vivarium featuring some poison dart frogs and tree boas. Here are some Lake Titicaca frogs. Awesome name for an animal. These guys are really derpy little frogs. And then here I was trying to get some footage of another mixed species enclosure. This is sort of replicating some of the drier climates of Florida, some pine snakes, gopher snakes, rat snakes, and lots of little anoles running around in here. But I couldn't get the best footage of the snakes. Now here is where the real special part begins. As a benefit of being in the Herpetology Club at UC, we got to take a behind the scenes tour of the reptile house. So here we are, kind of in the behind the scenes area of the Galapagos tortoise exhibit. People outside at the zoo could actually look in to the cave and see us inside getting to feed the tortoises. And this was incredible. I've never been the biggest fan of tortoises and turtles, even though, I love my tot. I've just always found tortoises a little boring. These were some of the coolest animals I've ever gotten the pleasure of hanging out with in my life. Like, this was so awesome. These animals are huge. They are just primordial looking. They are so special to interact with. They all have such unique personalities. And this was just a blast. Look at these guys. This clip is actually really cool. The handler here showed us an interesting way to get the tortoises to exhibit some cool behavior that they would out in the wild. What they're doing here is called finching. And as you can see, they're raising their necks, looking real proud when we start scratching them like that, because in the wild, what they're feeling is the sensation of finches coming up to their bodies and picking all the parasites off. Isn't that awesome? So cool getting to see like such unique behaviors from these animals that you wouldn't get to see if you were just walking around the zoo. So I felt really happy, really lucky to be here. We also got to take a look at some of the animals in the enclosures in the reptile house, but we were asked not to take any footage of that or share anything from back there. So this is the best you guys are going to get from the behind the scenes portion of the reptile house. Here's a nice little look at where the tortoises are hanging out. This is where they get to kind of chill out when they don't want to be on exhibit anymore. But with that being said, let's move on to some other portions of the zoo. While we were on our way to the next stop, we found this really cool colony of some sort of ground bee that had built a huge system of nests right here. So that was really cool. It was actually a bit of a hint towards where we were going. This is one of my favorite parts of the Cincinnati Zoo. They have this spectacular insect house, which is something I've never really seen anywhere else. I'm from Columbus, so I've been to the Columbus Zoo more times than I can count. And there's not a lot that the Columbus Zoo doesn't have. Like, that is just an ever-growing, ever-expanding, huge zoo. So it's always dope when I get to see something that zoo doesn't have. Now what you're seeing here is actually the incredible sexual dimorphism of these orb weaver spiders. That first little guy I showed you was the male, and this beast is the female. Very cool. Now what you're seeing here is actually the beginning of this incredible colony of leafcutter ants that has enclosures set up all around the building, and they get to travel all over, setting up these incredible structures. These unique looking structures are actually a fungus that the leafcutter ant produces using the leaves that they chop up and an enzyme in their saliva. And this is actually where they live. They feed off this, they live in there, they raise their young. It's super awesome. I'll show you some more in a sec. This building also has a lot of cool enclosures for animals that feed off of insects or unique insects you don't really get to see up close and personal. I personally really love the aquatic insects they have here. These things are some of the coolest animals I've ever seen, to be honest. I would love to keep some on my own. You're about to see some of my absolute favorites. This is a nasty water scorpion. Nasty, nasty predator. Now these guys are sunburst diving beetles, and aren't they just the cutest little thing? I want to keep some of these with some shrimp like they are here. So bad. They're also in here with some giant water bugs, and these guys are also terrible predators. Now here is kind of the main nest where the leafcutter ants live, and you'll see as I step back a little bit, this thing is actually enormous. The amount of square footage that these ants probably get to roam around in, to set up their colony, to forage for food, is truly impressive. And these tubes connect all the enclosures. They wrap all around the building, and if you look up sometimes, you'll even see ants crawling overhead, heading over to the next spot. So awesome. Then you get to step inside of the butterfly room, and this place is really charming. There's a couple bird species in here as well that can kind of cohabitate with the butterflies, and it just feels like stepping into an actual jungle. It is so pretty in here. Here's a up-close look at a butterfly I got to see. He's got a beat-up wing, but look at how beautiful his colors are, that iridescence. Butterflies are not something I've studied very much, but man, the variation in the colors that butterflies display on their wings is just so incredible. Then we took a walk over to the manatee building. Now, not only are there manatees in here, but as you can see, there's a lot of very popular Florida reptiles, or reptiles just from the southern US. Alligators, crocodiles. Here is the snapping turtle enclosure, the alligator snapping turtle enclosure. This tank right here is showing off some invasive fish from Florida. These are African cichlids. And African cichlids, like many other fish that have made their way into the Everglades and the associated wetlands, they've just been released by pet owners and kind of flourish down there. But here's an aquatic creature that does belong in Florida. This is a two-toed amphima, and believe it or not, this is actually a huge species of salamander with just some vestigial limbs there. They don't serve much of a purpose, but they're still kind of hanging on. All right, well, that was a pretty successful trip to the zoo. Maybe the most fun one I've ever had since the first time I came here as a kid. Thanks for coming along with me. Shout out to the Herp Club. Wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. Super cool opportunity, and hopefully we get a lot more stuff like this going on in the future. So with that being said, I've been the collegiate creature keeper, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.